Say a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. The game at the Etihad has just got underway. Manchester City taking on Inter Milan, a rematch of the 2023 final. So potentially Simone Inzaghi will be looking for a bit of revenge this evening. But that's not easy to try and achieve against Manchester City at the Etihad. Guardiola's side will always feel as though they can take on just about anybody and match any kind of attacking threat. But it should hopefully be quite an open game with Inter's formation looking like they're set up more for trying to keep attacking possession and pushing forward. Wait and see how it all pans out. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and James Smedley taking you through the action. James, are we expecting quite an open game this evening?
Well, I do hope so. I think, the way Man City line up with the three at the back, we presume, with Rico Lewis acting as almost an inverted fullback, I think that maybe that could allow them to push up into high spaces. We're seeing him on the ball now, just in that really advanced midfield role. I've seen him described as a defensive midfielder, but he's not even really that. He's more of a free roam, attacking, defensive, whatever you want to call him. And I think he'll be really key tonight in unlocking that into defence. But I don't think they'll be sitting deep either Inter Milan. I think they'll want to push forward, because I think if you sit too deep against teams with this quality as Man City do possess, that just allows them to push onto you even more as the game progresses. So I think they'll want to attack tonight.
Absolutely. It's that very difficult balance when you play Manchester City. If you sit back too deep, you're encouraging them to go forward. If you push too far forward, then of course you leave yourself exposed in defence as well. So they've got to try and strike it right here, Inter. But for the time being, it is Manchester City in possession, and it's Guardiola switching the ball over towards Rico Lewis here on the right-hand side. Zielinski just in front of him. He's got Savinho on the right-hand side, who's slotted into this Manchester City team seamlessly, really, on that right wing. Got support from Akanji here on the right. Plenty of City players getting towards the penalty area, but you have to say Inter are flooding the edge of their own box. Ball now back on the halfway line. It's with Guardiola on the left. Grealish pushing back towards the halfway line. Not too much space there for City in these early stages. And then a loose ball played back, and thankfully Edison was paying attention there, because it looked for a second as though Ruben Diaz had just left the ball with Thuram lurking just behind him. But Edison, of course, he's very quick off his line, isn't he?
He is, absolutely. He wants to get involved in the action. I think sometimes as a Manchester City goalkeeper, you might get a little bit bored, I want to say, with all the football going on in front of you. So he will be very excited to try and get out of his box, but he does have a wonderful pass when he needs to.
Absolutely. Got an assist on Saturday in the game against Brentford, as Rodri now trying to feed the ball down the right-hand side. Savinho almost getting towards the edge of that one, but it's a really good challenge coming in there from Carlos Augusto, playing it up towards the halfway line, but Inter are not able to keep possession on that occasion. Mehdi Taremi just robbed of the ball. It's back on the right-hand side here now with Rico Lewis, around 30 yards out from goal. It's got support here from Savinho. It's just Haaland in the box there for Manchester City. But we can see straight away Inter are doing what they can just to try and congest their half. But there's still some space here to find a pass in towards Bernardo Silva. And then a loose ball over towards the left-hand side. It will find Grealish. Grealish and De Bruyne are exchanging passes. Having to go back towards Guardiola now. Rodri back to goal, but still finds a pass towards Akanji. City getting back, further and further away from goal, but still keeping possession here with Ruben Diaz. Now Guardiola over towards De Bruyne again. His pass just deflects off Thuram, and now a chance here for Inter potentially to try and go forward. There was a pass over towards the right-hand side, but Thuram choosing to go it alone. It wasn't the right option. He hits the deck. He wants a free kick. Our referee Glenn Nyberg from Sweden says nothing doing. And City now on the left here with De Bruyne in towards Grealish. He gets away from Darmian, gets the ball in towards Haaland, but his strike, if I'm not even sure if Haaland even got a foot to that in the end. Looks like it was Bastoni with the clearance. And credit to Inter, they don't hoof it long, they just try and play out from the back, although Barella just gets caught on the ball, and I think on this occasion he is going to get bailed out by the referee, and it will be a free kick. But that's a bit of a wake-up call there for Inter, just as to how quickly City want to try and get forward.
I mean, the ball just lands at the feet of Jack Grealish after a deflection off Hakim Çalhanoğlu, and then it's a crucial intervention by Bastoni at the back, because Haaland was sniffing around that 6-yard box, and when he gets the ball in time and space that close to goal, there's only one end result. So Inter just about hanging on here, but they are playing some nice football out from the back.
They are. I think they've calculated that they're going to trust their playing out from the back, as rather than just trying to play a long ball where there's always more of a chance you're going to lose possession anyway, as long as they can back themselves to make sure they can keep the ball, of course, because City will always have plenty of players pushing forward to try and rob anything that's loose anyway, with Savinho now down the right-hand side. Just being held up there by Zielinski, going back towards Ruben Diaz. Diaz thought about a ball over the top, no option there for that, just finds Bernardo Silva on the right, and now Savinho heading towards the edge of the penalty area. 4 players to aim for inside the box as well, just leaves it here for Akanji. Back to Rodri, and City not wanting to commit themselves to that killer ball just yet. They're quite happy to just keep possession here. Rodri again, back towards Akanji. And Rico Lewis finding himself in that central role this time. Gets a ball into Bernardo Silva. Silva back in towards Rico Lewis. He was the one charging into the box. But now suddenly Inter can have a counter, and it's a quick ball out from Barella over towards the left-hand side. It's with Taremi now. He needs a bit of support though. And he does get it over on the right-hand side with Thuram. Thuram into the penalty area. Shapes the shoe. He does go for goal. It's the wrong option really. 4 players he could have tried to pass for, and in the end he's got no real run-up, no pace on the shot, and it's a very tame effort into Edison.
It is, but it's a shot on target, and that'll encourage the Inter players. I think one of the issues with trying to play counter-attacking football against this athletic Man City team is Inter don't really quite have that pace on the left-hand side with Taremi. We know that Thuram does have pace, he's a physical player, but he just wasn't that right out ball there. But I think Inter will take some confidence knowing that they can break down this City team on the counter-attack.
With City trying to break down the down the left-hand side, I should say, was Grealish's ball in towards De Bruyne, and Jan Bissek there just getting himself in the way. And I think he was trying to do what he could to delay De Bruyne taking the throw quickly. So in the earlier games in the Champions League this evening, it finished 0-0 between Bologna and Shakhtar. It finished Sparta Prague 3, Salzburg 0. And there's 3 other games as well as this one. Celtic against Slovan Bratislava, Bruges against Dortmund, and PSG against Girona. No goals in those other games so far. As Man City, as they have been since the start of this game, in possession in midfield, pushing towards the Inter penalty area. It's with De Bruyne now, left-hand edge of the box. His cross is charged down by Darmian. Nice spin there away from Barella, and once again he's the one trying to instigate a counter here for Inter. He finds Taremi, and Thuram just straight offside. I think he might be back onside now. No, he's not. He never got back into an onside position there, Marcus Thuram, and that is careless because he had enough time and space to get into an onside position.
He did. It's quite disappointing, I think, from Inzaghi's point of view, but again it's that ball out wide to Taremi, and I think Man City, Akanji was there, allowing him the space because they know that he doesn't have the pace to get round them, so they're giving him all that time, but with that time gives him the ability to pick out a pass, and sadly Thuram just a few yards offside for Inter Milan. But again there is a little bit of space and opening up here, and I think the longer City push on and keep the ball going forward, the more space there'll be in behind for Inter to attack.
Well, on this occasion though, it's Savinho that just taken on Augusto for pace. He gets the ball back after a lucky deflection, but then it's a bit of a flick ball across the 6-yard box. Never really got enough power, but I'm not sure if Savinho was shooting or trying to pass to a teammate there. He got a bit of a lucky deflection to get the ball back in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good touch to burst away from Augusto, but then his second touch just lets him down a little bit. It comes a little bit inside his body, and that means Augusto can get back inside and put his body before the ball. But Savinho seems to offer something new in that Man City team that we haven't really seen for a few years, that dynamic pace and dribbling, which I think will be really, really crucial for Man City in the last stage of the season to have a different dynamic going forward. And I think he'll be key tonight because he's shown already he's got a little bit of space in behind.
He has. He's certainly got the beating of Augusto for pace, that's for sure. As a bit of trickery there from Jan Bissek, taking a bit of a risk at the edge of his own penalty area, but ultimately his side do keep the ball. It's with Bastoni now on the left-hand side. So City doing what they can as well, pushing players forward here just to try and make it that little bit more difficult here for Inter. We can see just how high Man City's line is. Inter have got the ball around maybe 15 yards away from the edge of the centre circle, and City's offside line is pretty much on the halfway line, so they really are making it as difficult as possible here for Simone Inzaghi's side to get any kind of attacking possession at all. A long ball to Thuram, he touches that down with his chest, and it's a ball down the right-hand side. Darmian will chase this, but it should be Akanji's, and it is Akanji's. Clever work there from Akanji's on. Not only does he win possession for City, but he wins the throw as well, and it is out for a throw for Manchester City over on the left-hand side. But as you mentioned, James, little glimmers here for Inter that if they could just play the right ball and stay on side, they do have half a chance.
Absolutely. I mean, you just said it there. It's the right ball. That wasn't a bad attempt there from Inter going forward, but the ball was just a little bit too close to Akanji. We know he's got pace, and he was able to cover that really well and win his side a throw. But it was a 2-on-1 there when you're looking at it, from a bird's eye view. And if Inter can get that pass right, not too much pace on the ball because it'll skid off this surface here at the Etihad, then they'll be in with a chance of having a few more shots on goal.
Well, they've got a throw on here now. It was actually City's ball on the left-hand side, but Inter's pressure has paid off, and they've won themselves a throw, which is level with the edge of the area. Matteo Darmian standing with this one. It looks like he's going to take as much of a run-up as he can to try and launch this one into the box. And there are a couple of tall players to aim at, including Jan Bissek, the big centre-back. It is Darmian's ball. It's over the head of Bissek, in fact, and it's headed away by Bernardo Silva. It's back over on the right-hand side here with Matteo Darmian. Gets it in towards Barella. Played back towards the edge of the box. Nice twist there from Calhanoglu. His ball into the box is quickly headed away by Ruben Diaz. And now it's De Bruyne trying to start a counter-attack here for Manchester City. He's not the quickest, but he's still got the ball. And Haaland's gone just a little bit too far forward. If anything, City just lacked a couple of additional players there, really. De Bruyne has got many qualities, but pace, sadly, isn't one of them.
Yeah, he's given the ball away a couple of times, De Bruyne, with, I think, 3 loose passes I've counted now in the opening 10 minutes. He certainly has the ability, but I think maybe playing in that left-hand side of midfield, I don't know, maybe he's got a little bit less space. This into midfield is very jam-packed in the centre, playing with that 3 holding players. We know they like to get forward, but I think they did really, really well there to get back because the counter-attack was brewing, but lots of space in this opening few moments of this match, and I think from a neutral point of view it's very exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're both hoping that it was going to be that kind of game where two sides trying to out-attack each other rather than one just defending against the other team who are going to be in all the possession. And Inter do have enough players to try and take the ball to Manchester City. To say it's always that key of not conceding too early against this City side, because then they really can just get into their stride. But we have about 11 minutes on the clock, unofficially dependent off the studio commentary. It is goalless here between Man City and Inter Milan. No goals in any of the other Champions League games, but there are some goals, at least one goal in the EFL Cup this evening in the Carabao Cup. Brighton lead against Wolves. That's on 26 minutes, and it's currently 0-0 between Coventry and Tottenham. That was an 8 o'clock kickoff. That game is available on our service as well. It's now back with Barella inside his own penalty area. De Bruyne and Haaland lurking just to try and pick off any loose ball. Calhanoglu has dropped a bit deeper now just to help his side get out of trouble. And it's now with Zielinski and Bastoni down the left-hand side. Bastoni, that's a good ball forward. Is there an offside there? There is an offside. They've got to be more careful here, Inter, because they are putting pressure on Manchester City, but all City are doing is keeping the line, and we'll see just how badly Augusto was offside here. I mean, in fairness, it's a lot closer than the Thuram one, but he should still be onside there. Yeah,
it's Rico Lewis that just drops a yard behind the rest of the defensive line, but luckily enough for him, it is still offside. But there's so much space in behind this Man City back line, and I think one of the dangers when you're playing as a 3-back with that, you know, pushing forward, inverted fullback in Rico Lewis is sometimes players can get a little bit muddled up. I mean, from the reigning champions of the competition and the reigning Premier League champions, you wouldn't really expect to see that much space in between the gaps of the centre halves. But as it stands, Inter finding a little bit of joy so far in getting the ball forward.
They are, and maybe that's just making Guardiola think a little bit as well about how his side should be set up. He's back with Edison now. He's got plenty of options for the short ball, but he's sort of mulling over perhaps hitting it a bit long as well, because there are a couple of Inter players just lurking at the edge of the area. Thuram and Taremi are there. And Edison again, no real rush at the moment, but City just perhaps being checked a little bit by this response from Inter. Long ball then from Edison. It's headed away from Haaland. It's actually beckoning a couple of teammates to get a bit closer to him, potentially, for when he does win a header. It's now with Bissek on the right-hand side. His pass takes a deflection. It's won back by De Bruyne. And suddenly City are on the attack with Haaland getting towards the edge of the area. Great play, though, from Barella. Just did enough to put off Haaland. Didn't have to slide in, but he does win the ball back. It's cleared up towards the halfway line, headed forward here by Ruben Diaz. And Manchester City just having to sit back here again as Inter looking to try and go forward here with Bastoni. Lays it in towards Barella. Space down the left-hand side here now for Carlos Augusto. Back towards Nicola Barella. And Inter just slowing down here on the halfway line. Serbi now pushing forward towards Calhanoglu, who is certainly sitting quite deep. You look at Barella and Zielinski, they're the ones being afforded a little bit more license to try and go forward. But eventually it's played back towards Jan Sommer. But this is Inter now trying to show City that they can be quite happy with just sitting on the ball and not necessarily trying to charge forward as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they look so comfortable in possession, do the Italian giants. And I think you've got to have a lot of credit going to Simeone and Inzaghi for the way they're playing with the ball at their feet.
Yeah, and it's a long ball this time, trying a bit of variation there. That one for Carlos Augusto to chase. It was always going to be too close to Edison. That's the right idea. Take about 15-20 yards off that pass, and I think Augusto may have had a chance to get to that one first. As Savinho now having to drop into his own half just to win a bit of possession for Manchester City. Being closed down by Bastoni. That's another thing I've noticed as well in the last few minutes, that Bastoni, and it appears that Bissek as well, are pushing forward almost like additional midfielders. So they've obviously been told by Inzaghi that they can now try and just get a little bit further up the field.
I mean, it's certainly a roll of the dice, isn't it? I don't think many managers will have the bravery to have your two wide centre halves in a 3-back pushing up into a midfield area. I mean, you mentioned Bissett there. He was almost playing like a right winger a few moments earlier, and I think that shows a lot of strength of character for these Inter players, and bravery and confidence that is clearly flowing through their play at the moment. But Man City back in possession, and Inter are going to have to be a lot more robust in defence.
Well, yeah, that's it. It only looks good for Inter if they don't then leave themselves with a huge gap at the back. If they lose the ball for the time being, they're having to sit back in defence here as City push down the left with Jack Grealish. Having to cut back into the middle here. Certainly been preferred at the start of this season, Jack Grealish, after what seems to be a very good pre-season. He tries to thread a ball into the box for Bernardo Silva. That one doesn't quite reach the Portuguese, and now it's a chance for a counter. Lovely back heel from Barella, and here is Jan Bissek. He's charging through the middle here now, and he's got Taremi in front of him, being closed down here now, but Taremi trying to break into the penalty area. He spots Thuram over on the right-hand side. He's onside this time. Thuram goes for the left-footed effort. It's such a tame strike, and this will be frustrating Simone Inzaghi, because his side are now creating decent half chances, but just not having the finish at the end of it.
Again, it's 3 times now. It's the ball into Taremi, and he just does not have the pace, the 32-year-old, to get round Akanji. You can see it in his body language, and Akanji knows, and as a defender, you just feel so comfortable when you are defending someone that just doesn't seem confident in having the beating of you. It makes your job so much easier, and Taremi every time has shaped the ball up onto his right foot and played the ball across to Thuram. You just think maybe if Inter can find that switch of play to the right-hand side, to the much pacier Thuram, they'll have more of a chance going forward.
That's right. The issue is that will Thuram then want to be provided, because we've seen a couple of times already in this game that he wants to go for goal when maybe he could try and pick out a teammate. But what's interesting for me is that every time Inter have looked dangerous going forward, the first ball, the first twist or turn has got to come from Barella.
Yeah, he seems to get forward so well. He's such a dynamic midfielder, the way he goes box to box, and that's really integral to the way this Inter side want to play. They need fit players who are quick and can go up and down the pitch so easily, because against a top side like Man City are indeed, you really do need that kind of fitness but also technical ability to be able to pass the ball around in your own box like they are doing now.
Well, they are. They're trying to play out from the back, being closed down by around 5 Man City players. It's played up towards Taremi on the halfway line. He felt as though there was a bit of a high boot as he was trying to win the header. The referee doesn't agree, and City have a chance to go forward now with Bernardo Silva down the right-hand side, just being closed down by Carlos Augusto. He's got support here from Savinho. Short ball to him. Savinho now back towards Rico Lewis. Here is Rodri being closed down by Taremi, and Taremi robs the ball off Rodri, and now it's a chance here for Thuram, and Thuram has got the pace to try and go in. He finds Taremi getting into the penalty area. Taremi just stops his run, tries to set it up here for, it's a strike from Çalhanoğlu, and he gets that one all wrong, but it's quite incredible really that for all the hard work Inter are doing to try and stop City, when they actually get forward, they're finding the space, but they just cannot find the strike on goal.
No, I mean, I don't want to repeat myself again because I've said it 3 times already, but Taremi, again, he's just simply too slow. I think he plays as a very vocal number 9 figure. He's very integral. He was at Porto. I think he scored 51 goals in 52 games a couple of seasons ago in the Portuguese league, so he's certainly a prolific scorer. But I think if you're finding him about 30, 35 yards out of goal and giving him a lot of work to do dribbling forwards, he's not quite going to be as prolific as he once was. So if they can get the ball into Thuram, he made another good run there where I think the pass should have been played earlier, that could have developed into a more promising chance.
Well, the question I suppose as well is that whether Manchester City are going to take learn from this, or whether they're quite happy to have that risk of a counter-attack as long as it means they can send a few more players further forward. By the way, Scales has given Celtic the lead against Slovan Bratislava. That is the first of the 8 o'clock games that's seen a goal this evening, as Bernardo Silva finding Jack Grealish, edge of the penalty area on the left-hand side. 3 players trying to stop Grealish. He goes back in towards De Bruyne, and then a passing from De Bruyne into Guardiola. Guardiola now to Rodri. This is all going across the edge of the area. Akanji now over towards the right-hand side. Savinho onto his left foot, puts a cross in, header from Haaland, but it's straight down the middle, and it's catching practice really for Sommer. Just a header just coming in just underneath the crossbar, but that's a bit better from City after a spell where they were struggling to get balls into the box. That's the kind of thing that Haaland wants to see.
Well, I think sometimes Guardiola will recognise that when things aren't quite going your way, when you're not able to pick apart teams, you've got to just go back to the basics of football, and that is whipping in a nice in-swinging cross towards the head of Erling Haaland, and those are just the balls that he likes to attack. It's a delightful little dink in from Savinho from the right-hand side. He cuts on his left foot and just drifts one into the centre of the box, but doesn't quite have the pace on it for Haaland to attack properly in either corner. But you do think that the more confident Haaland gets, the more balls in towards him, especially around the 6-yard box, the more chance the Man City are of going ahead.
Well, absolutely, man. Anytime you can get the ball into Haaland in the penalty area, there's always a chance he's going to be able to do something with it. We've just seen a player on the Inter bench who is certainly somebody who could do something in front of goal, and that's Lautaro Martinez. I was expecting him to start this evening. I wonder if he's just being used as a potential super sub in the second half. But just as we say that, Inter have won the ball back. And once again, it's that man Barella starting things for them in midfield. He gets the ball in towards Carlos Augusto. Back towards Bastoni. Barella at the edge of the area. Now he's got support from Çalhanoğlu. Goes for goal. It takes a wicked deflection. It was completely excluded Edison, but it also takes the ball a long way wide. And Inter have their first corner of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting ready to shout shoot there. As soon as he got the ball, a bit of space opens up. Rodri just switches off a little bit. He's dragged in by Barella, and that opens up a huge pocket of space on the edge of the box. Çalhanoğlu well within his rights to have a shot from there. But again, Inter getting bodies forward. It was Bastoni combining down the left-hand side again, almost playing as a full-back. And he gets so high up the pitch, and that just gives Inter Milan an extra body on the break. And they've won themselves a corner here, so let's see if they can do anything from this.
Absolutely. They've not been able to really threaten City's goal too much from open play, so a set piece now, and it's the man who had that deflected effort, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, going to take an out-swinging corner here from the right-hand side. It's aimed at the near post, and it's headed wide. But you can actually see from the reaction there from Francisco Acerbi, he's not happy with the corner. He wanted there to be a bit more height on that. He was saying, look, lift it up, because he was having to almost crouch down just to head that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, that, to attack with a header, because it is quite low, but it's also behind him, so he's almost having to crane his neck backwards in any effort to get contact on the ball. So he does quite well with that, the former Lazio man. And he's been so good in the air in the opening 21 minutes. He had a duel with Haaland moments earlier where he just rises so high above him, and that's no small task to be able to mark Erling Haaland out in the air. And he's back with the ball at his feet now.
He is. Well, it was City's goal kick, and just a couple of passes later, the ball goes out for a throw, and it's Inter back in possession. To say that City are rattled is probably saying it, going a little bit too far, but certainly City have just been taken out of their stride a little bit by this positive approach from Inter, I would say. And it's Jan Sommer now, clearance down the right-hand side here for Bisek. Back in towards Acerbi, who's pretty much being left on his own as the central defender there, with his two teammates Bastoni and Bisek pushing further and further forward. But City are now trying to counter that themselves by sending more players towards the edge of the area. That just hurried Sommer into a pass, but he finds Zielinski pushing forward through the middle. Not a good ball there from Zielinski, and potentially a chance now here for City as Gvardiol finds Savinho heading towards the penalty area. He drops the shoulder trying to go for goal. He has an option there down the right hand side, but Gvardiol had wandered into an offside position. He was waiting that long for the pass. Ruben Diaz now back with Diaz now over towards De Bruyne. Now De Bruyne's passed in towards Bernardo Silva. He just stalled on it momentarily. That gave enough of an opportunity there for Bisek to clear it, and it's out for a throw. But it's warming up nicely now. The pace is good in this game.
Yeah, that was a little bit more like the Manchester City we've come to know. Ruthless with their passing, so clinical with the ball around the box. And yeah, it was Savinho and Gvardiol there, where Gvardiol wins the ball back initially, drives forward, gives it to Savinho, and then makes a really nice overlapping run. And he would have been in on goal there, the Croatian defender. But Savinho takes too long, cuts inside, and then the chance almost diminishes before some nice interchanging play with Bernardo Silva, heavily involved, being played in on goal, but he just didn't quite have the space to get a shot away. But yeah, really nice play from Man City, and they're on the ball again now, right in front of the Inter box.
Yeah, looking dangerous here again, Manchester City, just trying to add a bit more pace into what they're doing. Seems like Inter have been able to sort of predict what Guardiola's side have been trying to do for most of this game so far. They've got to do what they can just to try and mix it up a little bit. As Kanji now finds Rodri. It's about 40 yards out from goal. No options here for Rodri to go forward. Now he spots the pass down the right here for Savinho. Goes down by two Inter players. Goes back in towards Bernardo Silva. To Kanji again. Now Gvardiol. Moving over towards the left-hand side here now. Grealish has support from De Bruyne. That's where the pass has gone. De Bruyne trying a very elaborate pass. It drops to Savinho, having been missed by Haaland and by Bernardo Silva. And then it's a real toe-ended effort there from Savinho, which goes many, many yards wide. We're over the halfway mark in this first half. It is goalless between Man City and Inter. It will be James to take us through to half-time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that cross from De Bruyne is a good one. I think Haaland might just be getting a shout from behind him. I don't know whether it's from Bernardo Silva or the shot taker Savinho, because he seems to almost want to strike the ball with his left foot in almost a karate kick type manoeuvre, and then pulls out just at the point of contact, leaving the ball to go behind him. But it's spun away from both Silva and Savinho, and Savinho's effort is a wild one and into the stands. So Inter restart with the goal kick. Sommer plays the ball out wide to Augusto, but his long ball is collected well by Kanji, and is played forward and takes a little deflection off Kanaloglu, I think it was. So Man City restart with a throw-in. Rico Lewis goes back to Akanji, who then goes all the way back to Ederson, who's in acres of space in his own box. Inter clearly not wanting to press high up the pitch, but I think that's almost suiting the Italian side. So far they've been quite hard to break down.
They have been hard to break down, I think, and I think City have been surprised with how confident Inter have been when they tried to go forward, but now here come the home side again.
Yeah, De Bruyne gives it to Grealish, who now drives inside. He's got options to his right, goes all the way around to Savinho. That's a nice pass. He's got overlapping run from Lewis. Will he shoot? He does. It's deflected up in the air. Where will it land? On the head of a Serbi and just out of danger, but it's picked up again by Gvardiol. He nicks it round to Raimi, into De Bruyne, then Silva, then Grealish, back to De Bruyne. The offside flag has gone up there. That was quite a invigorating move, but I did think the offside flag would go up.
Yeah, it looks like Bernardo. It's lazy from Bernardo Silva because he didn't have to be offside there. If he'd have just sprinted a couple of yards before that pass is played to him, he would have easily been onside. But jogging back to his position there, by the time the pass reached him, he was in an offside position, and Inter will get the free kick. But just the first signs of a little bit more restless Guardiola there on the touch. Well, it's only 25 minutes in, but I think he would have liked his side to have had a bit more control by now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not even, I'm sure he would have wanted to go ahead by a goal, but he also would want to be dictating tempo, and I don't think they really are doing. I think they're coming to it a little bit more now as Jan Sommer's goal kick is headed out of play by Bastoni, so Man City restart with a throw-in which will take backwards. But yeah, when you think about Man City, you think about control. That's the main word that springs out to me, and they haven't really had any control over this game bar the last 5 minutes or so. But as it stands, they are growing into it a little bit more, and I think as long as Inter can stay robust at the back, which they have been doing, they just need to find a little bit better of an outball, I think, on the breakaway, because I can only really see a breakaway goal being the way that Inter will score in this game. Yeah,
it's difficult to see from open play with them having possession, just creeping forward the way City are doing now. It is hard to see Inter being able to do that. I'm not even sure they're even trying to set up for that. But City, in the meantime, space here on the left again for Grealish.
Ball to Grealish, goes inside to De Bruyne, tries to clip it back, and it's into the side netting. I think that was probably the wrong option from the Manchester City captain. But then again, he didn't really have any runners in the box, did he?
He didn't. I think he was sort of just losing his balance slightly, so he figured if he can get a quick ball across the keeper, it might just surprise Jan Sommer, who had, in fairness, wandered a long way off his near post. But then De Bruyne potentially had some options there to try and cut it back as well.
Yeah, I think Haaland just hangs his run a little bit to the edge of the 6-yard box when really he should have been ploughing in towards the goal line. But they're coming forward again here. It's all Man City at the moment. Savinho tries a forward pass to Bernardo Silva, but it's picked up by Rico Lewis, who then finds Bernardo Silva. One step over to square up to a Serbi. Rico Lewis goes down injured, but Man City will play on anyway. He's back to his feet. The English youngster, the City fans will be relieved to know. Now ball at the feet of Akanji, goes back to Ruben Diaz, then wide to Gvardiol. Has a little bit of time into dropping really deep now. They're nowhere near even the edge of their own half. Akanji allowed to run forward, bypasses Thuram. Now Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side of the touchline. He's almost boxed off by 3 or 4 Inter players, but he managed to get the ball back to Diaz, who then goes back to Ederson, and Man City will restart the play. Ball back to Gvardiol, who ended his Premier League campaign with quite a few goals and assists. He was out of the side for a while with injuries and form's been a problem, but he's such a key player for them now.
He is. I mean, he's got everything that Guardiola likes about a player in that sort of wide position. He's a very quick, strong player, but at the same time he has all the qualities of a midfielder, really. You could quite happily play him in that central midfield role. It's similar to Lewis, I suppose, in that sense that Guardiola expects his players to be able to slot into 2 or 3 different positions, and it all seemed like a crazy experiment when he tried John Stones as a centre-back, but now it seems other clubs have tried it, and it does seem to make sense to have players that can play in a wide position or a central position and pretty much switch.
Yeah, absolutely. Gvardiol almost joined Leeds United in 2020 for a £30 million deal, but it fell through. Swings and roundabouts in football sometimes. But Inter restart after an offside called on Jack Grealish after he just strayed a little bit behind the Inter Milan back line. So Jan Sommer takes it long, looking for Thuram, who does really well to win the ball, and it's broken for Taremi, but Gvardiol and Diaz do really, really well to just get that back. It was going towards the goal line, it's given away by Ederson. Now it's Kanaloglu, and the ball was on its way in, but it was headed behind by Gvardiol, and that was a rare lapse in judgment from Ederson.
Well, Ederson's he thinks he's done the right thing here, of course, by coming out to avoid giving away a corner. I think he may have almost been out for a corner anyway, but in sliding out like that, he leaves his goal open, and actually, as I say, the commentator mentions Gvardiol, and seconds later, Gvardiol's there at the right place at the right time. He's proving his worth there with an excellent header to stop that ball going in the back, because that was certainly going in, and Ederson would have been powerless to stop it.
Yeah, one of those rare lapses of judgment from the Brazilian goalkeeper. But he'll be very relieved to see that go out for a corner kick, which Inter will now take. It'll be Kanaloglu to take an out-swinging ball towards the middle of the box, and Edison just flaps it in. It comes back to Darmian, and it's blocked. It was Barella, actually. It was blocked well by Gvardiol again. Now the ball back at the feet with Augusto. Goes wide again. Now to Canaloglu, who drops so deep. He almost started his career off as an attacking midfielder, and now plays so deep that he's almost a defensive midfielder, but he likes to get forward, and there's a foul there. It was on Augusto. The referee has blown for a foul.
He has. I mean, I think the issue was Inter were unhappy with the first challenge. The referee played an advantage, and literally one pass later, there's a second foul which the referee couldn't ignore, and it's the one from De Bruyne trampling there on Carlos Augusto. That's the one that the referee has stopped, and there we see a replay of that strike there from Barella. Again, it's Gvardiol getting his body in the way. They're making sure that he gets the block in. But Inter with a free kick in a decent position now.
Yeah, I think he's been quite lucky to escape a booking there, De Bruyne, because he does. He's quite late to the challenge, and he does catch the top of Barella's foot there. So I'm quite surprised the referee hasn't booked him. But Inter won't mind too much. They have a free kick in a very promising position. The first real set piece of any note, and it will of course be Canaloglu to take this one. It's an in-swinging ball. Looking for Thuram. This is a chance, but it's saved on the line by Edison. The flag does go up, but that was a good chance for Thuram, but sadly offside.
He is offside, and it was a good save by Edison as well. As we see this replay coming in, it's ball whipped in there. I mean, you don't need any kind of technology for that. Thuram is about 3 yards offside there. It's almost like he's forgotten that defenders are allowed to move forward when a free kick's about to be taken as well. He's not paid any attention at all there, and it was an easy decision there for the linesman.
Well, it's confusing, that one, really, because Augusto and Canaloglu both step over the free kick, and then Augusto makes a fake run over the ball, if you like, but only the Inter players seem to be fooled by it. So I do wonder whether they've worked on that in the training ground or not.
It's almost like City were expecting that to happen, but the players actually needing to get on the end of the cross weren't expecting it at all. But these little details will be frustrating as Simone Inzaghi, because if you add up all the little moments that they've had in front of City's goal, they really should have had a better effort on goal than what they have had so far.
Absolutely. It's one of the most frustrating things, I think, as a football fan and a manager and a player, when, you know, if you're playing poorly and you lose, that's alright, but Inter have played well here, and if they go a goal behind now, they'll be really, really frustrated, because this has not been a bad performance by them by any means. Rico Lewis picking up the ball in the midfield now. He's drifting inside. He seems to be alright after going down a few moments earlier with a little knock, but he was straight back on his feet. Lifted ball over from Diaz to Grealish, who takes down well on his chest on the left-hand side of the byline. De Bruyne makes a nice run forward. He's squared up by Barella, captain against captain. De Bruyne looks to go backwards and does so. Back to Gvardiol, who then plays it into Rodri, who's on the left-hand side now. Looks to play across him, but instead goes to Akanji. Akanji now plays it into Bernardo Silva. He's got Savinho to his right, and he does use him. Savinho squaring up Darmian. Can he get across him? Takes a few too many steps, and it's a great tackle by Thuram. Now in to try and play out from the back. It's lovely play in the inside by Barella, who's striving forward here. Zielinski. It's a great tackle by Diaz. And but the referee has blown up for a free kick. I think that was an interesting one, because I thought
he's booked him as well.
Yeah, he's booked him there. I thought he might have won the ball, but clearly not. And Zielinski was racing through on goal.
He was. I mean, Ruben Diaz has just said, "What are you doing to the referee?" I've had to censor that a little bit, but essentially he's very frustrated there, Ruben Diaz, with that decision. I mean, Zielinski goes on a really good run, and as he gets towards the halfway line, I mean, it's one of those where Diaz has slid in, but does he get the ball? I mean, as Zielinski perhaps to try to make the most of that, as well as he sees that there's going to be some contact, but as I said, the referee was on it straight away, so as far as he was concerned, it was an obvious yellow.
I think maybe what's persuaded the referee to brandish the yellow card is maybe because Diaz has gone in with both feet, and I think that maybe makes the tackle look a little bit more aggressive and maybe intentionally harmful than it perhaps was, because I think he does get a fair bit of the ball, and I think maybe if he'd have left his trailing leg on the ground, the referee wouldn't have even called that for a foul. But the fact that both legs are off the ground, it's by no means an extremely dangerous tackle, but both legs are off the ground, so I think maybe that might be what has persuaded the referee to book him.
Yeah, it's that lack of control the referees don't like when the 2 feet are off the ground. But I suppose in the grand scheme of things, Ruben Diaz gives away a yellow card, and Inter had a free kick on the halfway line, where if Ruben Diaz doesn't commit that challenge, Zielinski was pretty much through on goal. So it's probably one of those yellow cards that as a team, City won't mind conceding, really.
Not really, no, but it does give a little bit of promise, especially to Thuram, who has tried to be running at Diaz a couple of times but hasn't quite had the ball, so he'll be feeling a little bit more confident now as the game develops that he can perhaps get on the end of one of these passes. But it's City that come forward now. Grealish on the left hand side, squared up by Darmian, goes inside on his left foot and then plays a ball inside to Rico Lewis, almost in the centre of the edge of the box. He then goes out wide to Savinho, who's squared up by 2 defenders. I think they're doubling up on him now, Inter Milan. Milan are on the Brazilian winger. Ball back now with Diaz, then goes to Rodri. City working it from right to left now with the ball at the feet of Gvardiol. Almost on the halfway line now, City. Rodri plays a ball square across to Akanji, just about on the right hand side. Looks to play a long ball and does to Bernardo Silva. He's in a lot of room here. It's a great touch on his right foot by Silva, and then plays it back to Gvardiol. City do have a chance to cross, but deciding to just play a bit of a game of chess here and work it along. And they do now. Savinho, now he's got a real chance to cross. Gets on his right foot, ball into the middle, but Serbi does well. Back to De Bruyne, cuts it back to nobody. And Thuram's able to just sweep up the pieces. And Inter, well, they can't really clear their lines, and the ball pinballs around, and it's back at the feet of Savinho.
Well, I mean, Inter, I appreciate the idea. They don't want to clear the ball at any time, but that was a little bit too, taking that a little bit too literally. There was, and once again, they give the ball away at the edge of their own box, and now a chance for Haaland, who goes for goal, and it's just wide. But that is a classic example. I think any young manager or coach that insists on his team always playing out from the back, there's got to be the emergency exit option of just clearing it long, because twice then Inter should have been able to clear it. They didn't, and City almost scored. Yeah,
City should have punished them there, really. Bissek doesn't quite get close to Haaland, and when you give him that much space on the edge of the box, usually you would be seeing the net ripple as the ball flies into the back of it, but just trickles a little bit wide. I don't think he quite got the purchase on the ball that he desired. Inter do now play out from the back. Ball at the feet of Zielinski. Plays a nice ball out wide. Coming forward here in numbers. It was a ball searching for Thuram. It was almost a 5-on-2 there, but Diaz was done well to get the ball out. Now it's into Haaland, who's dropped really, really deep. Finds a ball out wide to Bernardo Silva. He's got an overlapping run from Savinho that he might use. Savinho taking his time to arrive there, but does indeed eventually. Now he's squared up by Acerbi and Taremi, but he does really, really well to wriggle inside, but then can't do much. Goes to ground, but referee having none of that. Ball now at Grealish. Now it's a chance out wide for De Bruyne to get across it. Ball to Bernardo Silva, and he just misses the ball, and the referee has blown for a free kick after Bastoni was taken out by Haaland trying to go for that ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Bernardo's goals there, really, isn't it? Bernardo Silva's got to score that, and when he misses it, Haaland just takes a wild swing at it and goes right through Alessandro Bastoni, and Bastoni's certainly going to feel that one. And he just needs a moment to pick himself up. But this was Bernardo Silva's ball, and it's almost like he sort of dragged it with his studs rather than actually just putting his laces through it. He couldn't quite time it. And then, as you say, Haaland trying to go for it, and it goes in on Bastoni. I think Jan Sommer was asking a question about a potential yellow card, but the referee would say that there wasn't any intent there from Haaland, I don't think.
Yeah, he's just going for the ball there. His eyes are on the ball, and he's just gone through the man first. But I think that's probably comfortably the biggest chance of the game so far. Bernardo Silva, if he'd got really any contact on it, I'm sure that ball would have gone into the back of the net. Bissek does a little Maradona spin, which doesn't quite work out. Haaland gets the ball. Man City coming back into this one. Savinho tackled well by Augusto, who then gets the ball back off Bastoni. Bastoni tries to play the ball forward towards Taremi, but Akanji does well to get it back to Ederson. Ederson now in his own box with only one Inter player visible on our screen here, so they are sitting deeper and deeper as this first half goes on. Rodri allowed time and space to just maraud forward. He is checked by Taremi, so goes backwards and sideways to Gvardiol. Gvardiol switches it to the right to Akanji. I mentioned Rico Lewis at the start of this game as being quite a key player, but we haven't really seen too much of him, have we? No,
he's sort of drifted out there. And whether or not that's a criticism of him, I just think that the way the match has gone, he's just not been able to show what he can on that right-hand side. City have got a lot of halfway line possession, then quickly over towards Sevilla, and it's almost like Lewis has been bypassed a little bit.
Absolutely, and they're coming forward here again, Man City. De Bruyne has got a bit of space after a pass from Grealish, gets on his right foot, and his shot is deflected and was tumbling into that 6-yard box. I'm not quite sure whether it would have ended up in the back of the net had it not been from that intervention from Jan Sommer, who claims the ball rather gratefully from the air. And
it was a bit of an awkward angle after that deflection, but then it also took a lot of the sting out of the pass as well, so the goalkeeper had a little bit of time to see where that was going. Inter almost caught in possession inside their own half, but they end up going back towards their keeper again.
Yeah, Bastoni back to Sommer, then Sommer plays a pretty audacious ball, chipping Bernardo Silva back to Bastoni. Bastoni then playing it back to Sommer. It's a game of piggy in the middle with poor Bernardo Silva chasing his own tail. Sommer then goes out wide to Bissek, who, as we've seen so far, I think quite enjoys playing with the ball at his feet for a centre-half, which I'm sure may give Simeone Inzaghi some slight sleepless nights as this game has gone on. But Haaland picks up the ball inside to De Bruyne. De Bruyne has a chance to shoot, but Serbi does well to close down that space, and it looks to be going behind for a corner, but Darmian just keeps it in play and goes into Cananoglu. His ball up top looking for Thuram. Finds Thuram, but Thuram can't quite keep it down, and it will go off his chest for a Man City throw, in which Gvardiol takes back to Akanji. Man City coming forward again, ball at the feet of Gvardiol, then to Grealish. He's had a lot of space so far in this first half, but hasn't really been too effective with it. Ball into the feet of De Bruyne now. This is a decent opportunity for Man City. They've camped out on the edge of Inter's box. Rodri now with the ball on the left, switches it over to Savinho, but his ball's a little overhit. Savinho has to backpedal a little bit to just compensate for that, but he does get it down and plays back to Akanji. Man City now have kind of relinquished that territory they'd made up on the Inter Milan half, but they are coming forward again. Gvardiol now into Diaz, who's the furthest Man City player back, and he's almost halfway into the into half, which just gives you a bit of an indication as to how high up the field Man City are playing. Ball to the feet of Rico Lewis. It's a lovely little spin, but it just gets away from him. Plays it back to De Bruyne. De Bruyne is squared up by Bastoni, who does really well to win it off him. Then ball played out wide to Thuram, and he's taken out by Akanji, so that'll be a free kick to Inter as they try and play their way out of the Man City box.
They do. It's Akanji giving the free kick away there. That's just a little bit of respite for both teams, really. It's been an intense few minutes now as Inter doing what they can to try and keep City away from trouble. That's a strong challenge there from Akanji. Thuram will certainly feel as though he's been in this first half. As we can see, a very talented bench there for Manchester City this evening. McAtee, Carson, Kovacic, Nunez, I should say, Gundogan, Stones, Foden, Ortega, Walker and Doku. So plenty of talent on that bench for City if needs be.
Absolutely. I think, Premier League Player of the Year, Phil Foden it was, wasn't it? I'm not mistaken there. The fact he's on the bench does give you a bit of an indicator as to how much depth this Man City team do have. He had a bit of a disappointing Euros for England, but he'll be wanting to bounce back in the same form he did last season. Inter coming forward now, ball to the box from Zielinski. That one wasn't a bad one, but Thuram couldn't quite get the ball down. It's a sliding challenge, and now it's into Barella. He had a little bit of space and time. Now Zielinski out wide. Ball comes back to Thuram, and it's deflected, and it's gone behind. It didn't actually take a deflection, I don't think.
It's just that bounce, isn't it? Once he's made a first-time contact with it there, Thuram just bouncing past that post. But again, it's now City making the Inter Milan mistake of playing out from the back and being robbed of the ball at the edge of their own box. And actually seeing that replay from the reverse angle doesn't do Thuram any favours. He's not really got the right connection there at all, has he?
No, I think it just maybe deflects off Augusto, which, I'm giving Thuram the benefit of the doubt there, but it wasn't a great finish. He should have really done better with that. Grealish fouled as he runs forward by Bisek, Jan Bisek. So that'll be
Grealish was after a yellow card there for Bisek, just to try and slow him down a little bit, but for the time being, it's only Ruben Diaz has picked up a booking in this game.
Yeah, there have been quite a few heavy challenges, so I'm quite surprised. I think maybe that might change as the game goes on. Now it's Savinho, combines well with Rico Lewis, but is stolen away from him by Darmian. Now Kanaloglu marauding down the left-hand side. He's squared up by Rodri and Rico Lewis and Savinho, so he has to go back to Bastoni. Bastoni then goes inside to Zielinski, the Polish midfielder. Likes to play a really advanced role in that midfield, but he's having to do his defensive duties tonight, as he proved moments earlier in almost a blockade that Inter Milan had formed on the edge of their box. Ball back now to Jan Sommer. He plays it inside to Bastoni. Now it's Bastoni out wide, plays it into Kanaloglu. Kanaloglu with a risky ball back that nearly found its way to the feet of Haaland, but it just about gets to Zielinski, then goes back to his goalkeeper. Man City not really pressing Jan Sommer too much, and that's a loose ball. You can kind of see why they're not pressing him, because the ball's broken now for Rodri. Finds Jack Grealish, ball into Haaland, De Bruyne is on, and that was a really decent chance for the Belgian to score there.
Well, it's almost like City have got a sixth sense that as soon as they can spot that Inter are trying to send longer balls out, they send a few players further back, and then they start picking off the ball further up the field. But that was a good ball into De Bruyne. It's just felt that a little bit as he's been clattered there by Jan Sommer, and hopefully he should be okay, De Bruyne. But it's almost like he's trying to just sort of soldier it on, but he's struggling there. He's just having to crouch down there momentarily.
Yeah, he had plenty of injury worries last season, and he'll be really hoping this one isn't serious. But the referee is waving to bring the physios on. De Bruyne crouching down, and we're seing pictures now of Gundogan warming up on the touchline. So
it's sadly a feature of De Bruyne's career, really, not just last season, but he is somebody who is quite injury prone. He's had a number of muscle and knee joint problems over the years, but I think he's just as the physios have come on, he's now saying that everything seems to be okay. I think he's just keen to carry on and to take this corner kick himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes professionals can put on a bit of a brave face, because they, above anyone, won't want to be taken off, and he certainly is one for the big games, Kevin De Bruyne, and he won't want his evening to be cut abruptly short. We're just seeing more replays again of that chance earlier. I think it was a crucial block there from Kanaloglu. I think maybe Jan Sommer would have had it covered, but you just can't really take those chances as a defender, and he does well to get back and slide in and make the block.
Yeah, and he won't be taking this corner kick. It's going to be left up to Jack Grealish to take this set piece for Manchester City. But certainly plenty to aim for here for Grealish.
He does indeed. It's going to be an in-swinging ball on his right boot. Haaland lurking in the midfield along with Diaz and Rodri. In-swinging ball looking towards Diaz, but it's headed away well by Bissek. Ball comes back to Rodri, who plays it all the way back to Rico Lewis, who's the furthest player back. Still, Manchester City have the ball in the Inter half. Now it's with Bernardo Silva, who's dropped incredibly deep, just in front of the halfway line. He takes his time. They're in no real rush now, Man City are. Happy to just pick apart Inter Milan when they want to. That being said, they've been quite robust, this Italian side, and they've done really well to keep the scoreline at 0-0. It's not been one-way traffic by any means, but I think on the balance of play, you have to say Man City have definitely been the better team.
They have, yeah. They've looked more likely to score in terms of the possession and the intent, but that said, Inter have had their moment as well. As a ball over the top now here for Haaland. Yeah,
he takes it down well. He's squared up by Bastoni, and Bastoni, well, he nearly did really well to win the ball back, but Haaland just too strong. Retained possession, was able to play it back to De Bruyne. That was really nice play from the Norwegian striker. Ball forward from De Bruyne, looking for Bernardo Silva, but intervened by Kanoglu. Then it's ball into Zielinski, then played out wide to Barella. This is a bit of space for Inter to attack now. Now it's Taremi. He's got an overlapping run from Augusto. Will he go alone? He plays to Augusto. Augusto then puts it back, and it's blocked by the legs of Ederson. He didn't really have an option in the box there, did the Brazilian wing-back, but he did pretty well to convert that shot onto target.
He did well, absolutely, and say as the angles were closing down, he's forcing Ederson. I would be very worried for Ederson if he let that in, really. And you can see that Inzaghi's frustrated. Perhaps he was expecting his player just to try and put a ball across, but it's still a corner kick here for Inter. They've still got a few seconds to take it.
Yeah, it's going to be Kanoglu with what I assume will be the last action of the half. About 10 seconds of additional time left to play. Taremi, he's been the outball for Inter a few times, but he just doesn't quite have that pace to be able to forge any real counter-attacks. The ball from Kanoglu goes to the back to find Darmian, but his shot widely lashes over the bar and out for a goal kick. It was quite an outrageous effort there, and it's half-time here with the score at 0-0 at the Etihad.